you and I have a lot invested in the question of what's possible for us. And we know
Mm-hmm.
right now that people are especially tired and lonely and overwhelmed. And I wondered maybe then uh, if we could maybe walk through some of the objections to the idea of becoming happier. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can almost hear people say, like,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't understand, my life is
Sure.
genuinely
Yeah.
impossible. And
Right.
I think we both care a lot about
Yep.
the kind of that middle place that we're both trying to find. So,
Yes.
first, we have to agree to the premise that it is possible to make ourselves happier. I wondered if you could tell me a bit about set point theory.
Okay. Yeah. So, what research suggests is that about 50% of happiness is genetically determined. So, some people are born Tiggers and some people are born Eeyores, and that's pretty much hardwired. Then, about 15 to 20% is life circumstances. So, that's health, education, income, marital status, um, things like that, which we sort of have some control over,
Yeah,
maybe or
yeah,
not.
yeah,
And then the rest is very much the result of our conscious thoughts and actions. And that's really what I focus on. It's sort of like, given what my life is today, are there things that are easily within my power without spending a lot of time, energy, or money that I can do that I think would make myself be happier? So it's working in that range because that's really where we have some control. Now, could you say at sometimes in our lives it's not possible to be happier? Absolutely. And
yeah,
I don't, sometimes people think like, oh, what I'm arguing with the happiness project is that everyone should be 10 on the 1 to 10 scale 24/7. That's not realistic and it wouldn't even be a good life because obviously in many times in our lives
yeah,
we're experiencing other emotions and that's powerful and that's important. And but it's sort of like, given who I am and where I am, are there
yeah,
things that I can do to make myself happier? To me that seems worthwhile because if you could be much happier by, with small, you've been meaning to make time for friends for years and then you finally find a way to do it in a manageable way. Well, to me, I'm like, well,
yeah,
you should take your shot.
yeah,
Now, set point theory suggests that everyone has a set point and they kind of will always drift back to it, as circumstances change. I think it's more helpful to think of a set range. So maybe, someone who's, on the 7 to 10 range, and then maybe somebody who's more
yeah,
like on the 4 to 7 range. But whatever our kind of range is, I do think that there are things that we can do within our ordinary day without taking a lot of time, energy, or money that can push us up to the top of our range instead of pushing us down to the bottom of our range.
yeah,
So, and,
yeah,
and you've seen this if you've ever talked to somebody who like had a job that they really didn't like, and then they got a job they liked. Everything
yeah,
else in their life they have the same personality. They probably, most of the things in their life have not changed, but they changed their job. Well, turns out that changing a job can make a very big difference.
yeah,
And that's something that you might not be able to control, but it
yeah,
might be something that you could control if you
yeah.
thought would make you happier.
That small space between the idea that like nothing is possible and
Mm-hmm.
everything is
Everything.
possible. I mean, you know that like so much of my just
Yes.
intellectual gentle rage fest is like spent just trying to talk people out of the
Yes.
everything is possible
Yes.
as both
Yes.
like a self-help genre and as just like a series of especially religious and spiritual cultural scripts that we have like and then that like and I think we find that people like the harder their lives get, the more they're kind of fed this endless diet of hyper agency. Like you just need to.
Yes.
Like and I love the much gentler place that you're finding in the middle here, which is like a limited agency. Like what is
Yes.
possible inside this
Yes.
this range that isn't like Herculean or like adorable Eeyore who just his tail falls off and he's never
Yeah.
gonna find it.
Right.
Never.